Is Jeremy Sochan, well, is he on the move?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hope you're having a great day. As always, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kansas 5 Plus app. By the way, check out the NBA Everydayer Club right here on the Locked On Sports Podcast Network. More on that later. And by the way, thank you for making the Locked On Sports Podcast Network the number one in the nation. Hey, what are we talking about today? Jeremy Sochan. Reports are coming out that possibly his time in San Antonio is all but over. We're going to react to that, the pros, the cons, and then kind of look ahead with the NBA trade deadline right around the corner. Are there any other moves Spurs should make? Let's talk about that and more with our guest back once again, this time via audio Backscore Studios' very own Rudy Campos. Rudy, there's no reports about you getting traded from Box Score, so you're good to go.
Yeah, the only way I would be traded is if I sold the company. So,
follow Rudy on X at Box Score Studio. More on that later. And let's go ahead and dive right into it. You know, Rudy, this is kind of one of those situations where perhaps nobody really should be surprised. The writing was on the wall since the start of the season until now that Sohan's time in San Antonio might be over as soon as, well, in a few weeks. Reports coming out via Mark Stein that the Spurs have granted permission to Sohan and his team to explore trade possibilities / new addresses as the trade deadline comes in. Right off the bat, Rudy, like I said, I don't think anybody should be surprised that this is happening. Sohan's been benched pretty much. Carter Bryant is getting more time ahead of him. A rookie with practically minimal NBA experience compared to Sohan. The list goes on and on. Right off the bat, Rudy, were you surprised?
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is a move that we've been talking about probably towards the end of last season. Starting this season, you saw Sohan's minutes go down. You see him get a lot of DNPs. So, I mean, this isn't something that anybody called, during his rookie campaign because he was under Pop's tutelage at that time. You saw him getting a whole lot of playing time. He was very productive. They ended up going with him at point guard. It was obviously not a successful transition. But once Mitch took over the reins full time, you kind of started to see Jeremy's minutes go down. Maybe he just didn't fit the system that Mitch wanted to try to get into San Antonio. But yeah, I mean, up until the end of last season is when we kind of started to see maybe the writing on the wall with Sohan, but definitely beginning of this year, you kind of already figured that at some point he was either going to be released or traded. And the biggest telling point was they didn't sign him to an extension. So that should have been, the absolute marker on the wall. It's not just the writing, but permanent marker on the wall showing that Jeremy was out.
Yeah, let's look at some of the tea leaves, if you will, why this is not a surprise. Right now, he's playing the lowest PT playing time in his career, I believe, averaging around 13 minutes per game. As mentioned, he's spending most of the time on the bench. He has a career low usage rate of 15%. So that just screams volume. They're not using him. Again, and that's what even the eye test tells you, is you see him usually just deep in the bench cheering his team on. He's 22 years old. He's been in the league for a while. Perhaps, again, it looks like he's just not a fit anymore with the Spurs' current and future plans. Look, there's no doubt about it. He's a physical guy. He's still young, mentioned 22, versatile defender. He's strong, high energy on the court. That's great. But you kind of already get that with several other players, namely Keldon Johnson. And Keldon Johnson can do a lot more. The problem is, Rudy, if he is getting shipped, I don't think it's anything personal. It's just I look at the offensive side, and he really hasn't developed, has he?
No, I mean, I get it. It takes a little bit of time to develop in the NBA, especially on the offensive side and shooting. Didn't really make any ticks up towards his three-point shooting. Saw him in the gym over the summer, which, I don't really like a whole lot, but you're not shooting against competition and just shooting by yourself. Of course, you're going to shoot a higher percentage. So it just, his offense didn't improve in the offseason. but not only that, take into consideration, it seems like his defensive presence just went down a little bit as well. So,
Interesting.
I mean, to me, he brought energy. He brought, some good spurts when it came to San Antonio this season and the end of last season. But it just seems like his whole game took a step back, and there just really was no more development there. I don't know if maybe he may have just mentally checked out for a while. I mean, it's hard to say, and it's hard to put anything into Jeremy, to inside of Jeremy, like, hey, this is what he's going through. We don't know for a fact. It could be something totally different. Bottom line is it just isn't working out. Offense went down. To me, a little bit of his defensive presence went down.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to be honest, man, if you're going to be an NBA player, you got to be able to contribute somewhere, or you're just not going to be a fit for a team.
Yeah, again, we're highlighting here the offensive side of things. Again, if this report is true, keep that in mind. Offensively, there's been no jump. There's not even been a marginal jump. And basically in his perimeter shooting, that's where it comes down to. He only averaging 28% from the three line for his career. So fine, you're not going to be a 3-point sniper. Nobody else is going to be Steph Curry, Reggie Miller. The list goes on and on. But that's not good. This Spurs team is predicated on spreading the floor with number one in uniform, and that really hasn't happened for him. So again, perhaps a trade involving Sohan. If the Spurs want to go that direction, they could address that. More on that later. Other thing, too, is you look, again, at the more of the right on the wall, Carter Bryant, the rookie, getting more time ahead of him in the rotation, getting out there during significant portions of the games, not in garbage time or when there's a blowout on either side or the Spurs getting destroyed or they're doing destroying. Carter Bryant is getting in there. It seems to me that the team may value Carter Bryant more than Sohan. Your thoughts?
I believe that is a true statement that you just made. I mean, they drafted Carter Bryant hoping that he can turn into a 3-and-D type of player. You've got Jeremy on his last year. You just got Carter Bryant. He's a rookie this year. So you've got him for at least, 4 years at max right now. So they are valuing him a little bit more. You've seen improvements. You've seen his ball handling skills is actually a good thing that I'm actually noticing when he's in the game as well. He's just kind of an energy guy and a different type of energy guy that Jeremy brought. Jeremy brought the toughness, and that's all fine and dandy, but Carter Bryant brings the toughness on the defensive side of the ball. He brings a little bit of energy. You can kind of see that he's getting, a little bit more comfortable in the offense. So, yeah, the value for Carter Bryant is there, and I think it's just because they have more time to develop him and not necessarily a lot of time left with developing on as far as Jeremy goes.
Yeah, and another thing that I look at this is perhaps another move, not necessarily personal against him, if the Spurs decide to go that route, is because paydays are going to start coming up soon. And if this is a guy, Sohan, that you can let go or trade and have to worry about paying him when you have guys like Castle and Wemby and Harper and others on deck down the road to get their payday, perhaps Sohan is one they can let go, free up some cash. So there's that, as well as, again, we statistically, offensively, doesn't really provide much. He's a good defender. I'm not going to call him an elite defender. I'm not going to call him a solid defender. He is good. He's okay. Pesky, all that good stuff, But, I look at the situation, and I just think perhaps a change of address is good for him, mainly him, and the Spurs, obviously, to look for any other components they can use to help this playoff run that they're going to have, or more draft picks. I was going to ask you, Rudy, we go back in time. Do you think that point guard experiment derailed him somewhat?
Man, that's a great question. Yes and no. Yes and no. I'm going to say yes and no. I think more yes. I mean, he was kind of compared to a Boris Diaw type of player coming out of Baylor. And if we all remember, Boris Diaw he could play the point. I mean, he could dribble with the best of them. He was a very high basketball IQ. And I think that's kind of where the Spurs wanted to go with Jeremy, kind of in that point forward situation and being compared a little bit to Boris Diaw. Just didn't work out. I think they kind of jumped the gun, maybe expected him to be a little further, more advanced when it came to running the point guard position,
Mm-hmm.
and it just didn't work out. I mean, but again, I don't put it all on Jeremy. So I mean, at that time, I have no idea what the coaching staff and albeit Coach Pop was thinking at the time. I mean, you didn't really have to do that with Jeremy. He was kind of comfortable where he was in that power forward role. So I'm going to say it's not all his fault, but I think that did really mess with him mentally because he struggled so much during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you kind of got that mentality that you're just struggling, sometimes it's like quicksand. You know, the more you fight to get out of it, the deeper you sink.
Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s, self-employed forms, so you can just get to work on those deductions. You can upload your documents, go about your day, get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time offer, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Spurs, compatible with Apple's Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for just listeners of this show and, well, hanging out with a lot of other fans on Discord. You want to go to this website right now, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer club. Go there right now or just tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Yeah, and I look, again, not surprised that this report came out. But if you all learned anything regarding the Spurs around this time and the NBA trade deadline is when they're quiet is when things likely happen. When there's noise, something doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So right now there's some noise, so perhaps nothing is going to happen. But regarding that point guard situation, I was there the day that he, kind of was already fed up. It was after practice, and they brought him to the podium, and that's when he was like, "Oh, I'm bleeping tired of this already." So it was really affecting him, and I think they should have ended it sooner than prolonged it. But they prolonged it, and here we are. But again, you cannot sit here and say that's just the one thing why, if true, the Spurs are allowing Sohan to explore options to get traded. It's a combination of things. It's the roster makeup. It's the style of play that the Spurs are trying to implement right now. It's players that do a lot more than him on the court ahead of him of the rotation. He has to get minutes over Keldon and Dev and I guess Carter Bryant now in order for him to get out there. Harrison Barnes, who's having a horrible slump right now shooting wise, but yet Sohan's not getting out there to get minutes. So there's things there that should tell you that the writing has been on the wall. Now, I obviously, again, he could get traded or the Spurs could wait until he hits restricted free agency, Rudy, where teams can just, throw a number at him. If the Spurs want to match it, great. If they don't, they let him walk away.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, I don't think the Spurs should take that route. If they're going to trade him, get something for him now. What do you think?
That's kind of the easy thing to always say is pay a player to get something. But when teams are realizing that player is no longer, a part of a system or they don't want him, a lot of times they wait and see if they kind of just cut him. They'll waive him and then the team will be able to sign him again. He's on his last year of his deal, on his rookie deal. So if the Spurs aren't able to make a move and no team wants to trade for him, I probably expect them to waive him at the end of the year. It's not going to cost them anymore because he's on his last year, so it's kind of like the on his salary already. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. His value is not very high. And I mean, there's probably a handful of teams that kind of want Jeremy Sochan on the team, albeit one of the teams that we talked about was Chicago. That's one of the teams that was mentioned. We kind of mentioned him and Olenek for a Herter type of deal. You always hear about him going to maybe the Knicks and that Yabusele type of deal. So there are teams that value Jeremy that they may trade for him, but to think you may get, in other words, for Spurs fans to overvalue Jeremy and say we should maybe get a first-round pick in return, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen. Yeah.
I mean, if it does, great. Brian Wright is executive of the year because he pulls off another, masterful trade. But, just can't really overvalue it. And I think right now, to be honest, I think he gets moved, but if he doesn't, he probably gets waived later on in the year.
Yeah, I think if the Spurs can figure something out, even if it's a few draft picks, do it. Rather get something than to see him walk. I guess technically he can walk this upcoming off season. With restricted free agency looming. And again, that was another sign too. We can't forget about that, Rudy, that the Spurs did not re-up him heading into the new season. Another sign that perhaps something was there. We're joined by Mr. Rudy Campos of Box Score Studio. Make sure to follow him on X at Box Score Studio. More on that later. We are talking about that guy you see on your screen right now, Mr. Jeremy Sochan, with the reports coming out that he might be packing up and finding a new address. Now, you mentioned, Rudy, before I take that guy off the screen there, some teams that are interested in him. Now, there's a report. Let me see if I get it here. Here we go. Of the teams listed among those that could chase Sohan ahead of the trade deadline. Just pull it up real quick here. We have Bulls, Hornets, Knicks, Lakers, and Suns, according to reports, that are possibly interested in trading for that guy you see on your screen, Mr. Jeremy Sochan. Interesting. Will the Spurs make a deal with the team that they might face in the postseason? Lakers, Suns. I don't know. They'll go that route. The Knicks seem to always pop up, and to me, that makes more sense because they do have a need for this type of player, length, height, and a little bit more toughness defense. What are your thoughts about those teams? You mentioned the Bulls. We got that out of the way. Yeah. And then got the Hornets, the Knicks, the Lakers, and Suns. What do you think?
It kind of helps out a little bit with the Knicks. I don't see the Spurs really making a deal with the Suns or the Lakers, only because those are two teams that you potentially see in the playoffs. Right now, I would probably say the Knicks and the Bulls are probably the top two contenders. And it's funny because, as of this recording, we've heard Giannis Antetokounmpo basically come out and say, hey, I want to be moved and done there. And you and I talked about a 3-team deal where the Knicks could be involved with the Spurs and the Bucks. And it kind of makes sense now because if Giannis is really pushing to go to the Knicks, New York does want Jeremy Sochan as part of some kind of deal as well. So Spurs could get in there and, like we talked about, maybe get a player or two in return to help them for that playoff push that they have. So I would probably start looking at the Knicks and see what's going on with Giannis. There's rumors about him going to Atlanta. So again, there's two teams. I think the Bulls and the Knicks are probably the top two teams on my list for destinations for Jeremy. But the next one is kind of a funny one because they can easily do, like I said, the Yabusele and Sohan type deal. But it doesn't make sense for New York. They probably are getting the same type of player, but it's numbers. The numbers don't really work, I think, contract-wise. So Spurs would have to take back another player, and it just kind of could get a little bit carried away. So if it's a new with the Knicks, I think it might have to be a 3-team type of deal. But right now, Bulls and Knicks are probably my top two teams on that target where it comes to Jeremy.
I don't think he's going to fetch a first-round pick at all. I think you'll get some second-round picks, maybe kind of a throw-in player. But, I'm not expecting the Spurs to get a haul in return. It's part of the business. Sometimes you don't fit anymore in the team. It's like everyday life. Maybe your job has new management, in this case, like Mitch Johnson. And they don't have a need for you. And that could be basically it. Again, the NBA is a business and you move on. But with Sohan, to be fair, let's be fair, Rudy, he did have a stretch of games this season where he was showing value. I have it right here from December 2nd to December 8th. In that span, he scored 11 points, 2 steals, 6 rebounds against Memphis. Against the Pelicans, he posted 10 points and 5 rebounds. In that span from this December 2nd to the 8th, he was averaging about 7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 54% shooting, and about 16 minutes per game. But as we saw, and we're seeing, after that span, he's back to the bench. And why? Because Devin Vassell came back. So overall, if you just sum it up, you're seeing the team have a phenomenal record without him. You're seeing the team thriving without giving him significant minutes. You have the struggled, or at least the failed point guard experiment with him, trying to find a fit for him. Didn't work out. We talked about his usage rate. It's low, career low right now. So obviously they're not using him. Mm-hmm. It looks like a fresh start is needed, either the trade deadline or the offseason. I think we're pretty safe to say, if they escape the trade deadline, he ain't coming back next year, is he?
Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually is going each month. It's easy to say, well, you feel like you're losing control, and who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control, finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills so you can grow more savings. You're going to be shocked when Rocket Money shows you exactly how much you're paying for fill in the blank subscription that you have. You maybe you completely forgot about it. It's going to save you money quick. You're going to love how it tracks all subscriptions, lets you cancel the right way in the app in just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. The automatic transaction categorization is a game changer. You can finally see exactly where your money is going to each month. Set budgets, goals, get personalized insights. Look, get the app right now. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
No, I mean, if for whatever reason he's still with the San Antonio Spurs after the trade deadline, like I said, I probably expect him to be waived. And then if not waived, he's definitely probably not going to be coming back next year. There's no way, because you would think if they were close to bringing him back, there would have been talks about, hey, we didn't reach an agreement on an extension this offseason, but we will try next offseason. You never heard anything like that. It was just simply, we're not extending him. He didn't get that extension. So
yeah,
that already kind of tells you that he's on the way out. And again, there's two things. Spurs fans that are locked on Spurs, y'all love to leave comments when I'm on YouTube. So I'm going to ask y'all this question. Does Jeremy stay a Spur if Pop never is out as head coach? I mean,
good point.
Because remember, he's a Pop guy, and Pop was utilizing him and using him, as to where Mitch comes in and it's a different, system, different environment. So he may not fit Mitch Johnson's system. And the reason why I bring that up is because, like you and I said, we're not bashing the guy. He does have some value and he does play good basketball. He's got a lot of good, characteristics in his game. It's just not for what the Spurs are trying to build. So again, we're not bashing him. It's just right now with the fit, it's not going to happen. And I fully expect him, if he doesn't get traded, this is his final season in San Antonio.
Yeah, absolutely. I look back at that draft class. If it does happen, man, that draft didn't really work out for the Spurs. It was Sohan, Malachi,
and Wesley, right?
And Wesley. Yeah, that'll be a bad mark on Brian Wright's resume right there. Because that whole draft class just gone now.
He's had a few of them, a few bad drafts, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we'll see what happens. The NBA trade deadline, excuse me. I have it here. It's on February 5th, 2 p.m. Central when it ends. So there's still some time to see things hash out in San Antonio. But right now, it's not looking good for Sohan to stay in his Spur, either beyond the trade deadline or at least beyond this season. Hey, Rudy, speaking of the trade deadline, it's coming up fast. It's right around the corner. What are you feeling? You feeling the Spurs going to be quiet, active? Where are you standing on this?
I'm gonna say I expect an active trade deadline for them.
Mm-hmm.
But whether a move gets made or not, I don't think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's going to be for a valuable piece going into the playoffs, but I think it's going to cost like a Trey Murphy deal. I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
They just want way too much. I mean, you're talking about a Desmond Bain package, so 4 first rounders plus, another post. To me, that's just a lot for Trey Murphy, and I get it. Oh, he's a difference maker. Yeah, he's a difference maker, but if you want to put all your eggs in the basket for Trey Murphy, that's definitely something you not want to do. I fully expect him maybe to go after a shooter, Kevin Herter, maybe Andrew Wiggins, maybe even Dalton Connect out of LA. He's a really good spot-up shooter, very young, does fit the system. So maybe we can see some type of moves being made, but when it comes to Giannis or, anybody like that, I'm going to probably take a backseat on that and just say it's not going to happen because the value you have to give up, and you're already, you're the third best record in the league. You have to give up some key pieces. It's just not worth it right now. So I would say it's going to be an active one, but do I feel they get a deal done? I think you might be see 1 or 2 deals type of done with San Antonio.
Yeah, I think the Spurs will be active as far as making calls, but if you're expecting sort of sexy blockbuster trade, probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the Spurs are playing great right now. Yeah, I know a lot of Spurs fans like to make fun of this, but actually it's true right now. They love the team they got. And the proof is in the pudding. The records, the stats, where they rank across the board among team stats is pretty good. But if you're going to trade Sohan or just be active, I see them getting a solid role player, like you mentioned, a Dalton Connect. I think that'd be great. The Spurs do need floor spacing. He provides that youth. Spurs fan love the timeline thing, but actually he fits the timeline and would be great either coming off the bench for the Spurs. You mentioned Herter. I think that was, that's perfect. Exactly what the Spurs need. The list goes on and on. I think I read a report the Spurs are usually getting Jose Alvarado. I don't know if that's like taking any worth in that. That's too many guards. Yeah, I mean, pass on that. Also, too, he's undersized, so no, pass on that. But yeah, I think the Spurs will be active as far as phone calls made, but I don't think they'll be getting any blockbuster deals done unless Giannis really, 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 really wants to go to San Antonio. But I think the reported list that is been touted out there does not include the Spurs as a destination. A lot of East teams, I think, it's like Miami, Knicks. I forget the other team. Atlanta. Thank you. Yeah, Atlanta. But man, I think we definitely got to talk about Giannis again on Locked On Spurs, maybe to close out the week tomorrow. Rudy, any final thoughts on this Sohan news?
Not very surprised at all. I mean, like we mentioned, the writing was on the wall, and
yeah, it was.
I think a fresh start for Jeremy is something that every NBA player values when they're kind of struggling or they're just kind of feeling like they're in the doghouse and not getting a lot of playing time. Everybody wants a fresh start. And that's it. I mean, we hope they get the best possible deal for him if there is a deal on the table. And like everybody, I mean, we appreciate and value the time you've been here. And if you're still here 5 years, 6 years later because they kept you, then you know what? You're Spur for life, and it's going to continue to just, play out the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. And, a couple of last thoughts. Obviously, this is not a done deal. His name will probably pop up soon, and we'll react to it here on Locked On. But, I want to make it very clear. Just because the report's out there does not mean Sohan is certainly getting traded, Spurs fan. Does not mean that. Yeah. To make that very clear. He could still be a Spur after the deadline. And so that could still happen. And remember, he is a restricted free agent. If the Spurs want to keep him, they can match. So this report does not mean he's on the way out. But it does signal that perhaps there is some smoke. And as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. That perhaps Sohan is gone. But I got to monitor this. Especially to see what they're going to get back. I'm more interested in that. I hope they get back somebody that fills a need if they decide to go via trade. And I think the Spurs would do Jeremy good. I don't think they'll do him dirty. I think they'll say, okay, give us the list of teams you're interested in. Here's X, Y, and Z, and we'll try to get something going for you. I think he'd be great in New York. I actually think he'd be good in LA. I think he'd be really good with the Lakers. Really fit with them well. But we'll see.
Like him. Real quick, I actually like him in Charlotte or Chicago.
Yes. Yeah.
The Hornets are building something pretty good there. I think he would fit there. To be real, I wouldn't even mind a Jeremy for Tijan Saloon type of trade when it comes to Charlotte and the Spurs. Two young guys. I mean, Saloon's an overseas guy, but again, you can develop him, see where you go from him. His contract's going to be a little bit longer, and it's not very much. So, I mean, something like that. But I think those two teams would be really good for Jeremy, Chicago and Charlotte.
Absolutely. We'll monitor it here on Locked On Spurs. He is Mr. Rudy Campos with Box Score Studio. Follow him on X at Box Score Studio. Tell us more about Box.
Yeah, Box Score Studio as a YouTube channel. Just go to Box Score Studio TV. You can hit that subscribe button. You can catch a lot of our NFL talk. We'll be talking about the Super Bowl coming up, more NFL stuff, more NFL draft, NBA talk. The trade deadline's coming, so we'll have some videos as far as the NBA trade deadline goes. So, yeah, for all the content that you want and need for across the sports world, just go to Box Score Studio TV on YouTube and hit that subscribe button.
Man, absolutely. That's all San Antonio Cherry video right there. Way to go, Rudy. Thank you again, Rudy, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. We thank y'all for being Locked On Spurs, your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. Let us know what you think about the Sohan situation. Are you taking the report via Stein with a grain of salt, or you think, there's something there? And who would you like to see the Spurs trade for? Let Rudy know on X at Box Score Studio. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs. Hey, before we let you go, if you like checking out Locked On Spurs, and we know that you do, make sure to subscribe to the NBA Everydayer Club. So what is that? So you pretty much get Locked On Spurs ad-free. You'll get access to a Discord channel where you can just talk to other Spurs fans. It's a lot of fun. You want to go sign up right now, lockedonpodcast.com/Everydayer Club. Make sure you do that right now. We'll be back tomorrow as the Spurs season continues. So for Mr. Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.